seen not one but $2 trillion healthcare bills completely derailed. We've seen a nobody Republican from Massachusetts rise to instant overnight international fame faster than Susan Boyle. As Scott Brown took the 41st vote of the Republicans to thwart Democratic spending measures. And just this week, many of you read the news, our Congress, both houses, approved record deficit spending. Both houses approved spending of $1.9 trillion more than it brings in taxes. And that's on top of $12.4 trillion that it racked up over the last 9 years, bringing the total deficit, that's like credit card debt, folks, to $14.3 trillion. Can you all say trillion? Trillion! Get ready for it. That's the new currency. Now, maybe that doesn't mean a lot to you, but if you divide that by approximately 300 million Americans, that's like everybody in this room having $45,000 of credit card debt. Now, that's okay if you have $45,000 in the bank, but if you don't have $45,000 in the bank, that's called near bankruptcy. Now, let's bring that to the club level. Let's say Felipe, our club president, approved spending in 2011 $250,000 more than this club brought in dues. Would that be fiscally responsible? That's exactly what $45,000 a head times about 42 active members comes to. How in the world did we get here? Some people say that it's because of the Democrats. Some people say it's because of the Republicans. But Democratic Senator Jim Matheson, or Democratic Congressman Jim Matheson, said both parties are at fault. In fact, we took our eyes off the ball in about 2002, because before then we had a provision called PAYGO that required our federal government to actually balance the budget, that is, spend what they brought in every year. And for 10 years we had a balanced budget. But in 2001, PAYGO expired. We didn't renew it. Took our eyes off the ball. And since then, we've run up $14.3 trillion in spending in excess of what we brought in. Now, we are about to see another version of PAYGO, because in that same House Resolution 45, where both houses passed an agreement to spend $1.9 trillion in excess of what they brought in, there was another provision in that same bill that said we're going to have PAYGO again. But before you get too excited, let me tell you about PAYGO 2. PAYGO 2 has about 5 different exceptions. Number 1, taxes. Taxes on the wealthy? Sure. But also taxes on the middle class, called alternative minimum tax. Get ready for it. Another exception is emergencies. However, our Congress chooses to define that. Exception number 3, entitlements. Stuff we've already committed for, we can't back out of. Food stamps, welfare, Social Security. And number 4, our Congress can actually override that anytime it wants to. It passed PAYGO, it can create an exception in any bill that it wants to. And number 5, PAYGO doesn't apply to discretionary spending. That's stuff like transportation, health care, national defense, our basic everyday spending. So it's toothless, folks. PAYGO is not going to help us at all. So what can we do? Well, we can't stop the tsunami from coming. It's going to be bleak, folks. There's no good ending in sight for us or for our children. But what we can do is take some fiscal responsibility at home. We can look at our own budgets and actually spend less than we make. And it's not the end of the world if you have some money left over at the end of the day. In this economic times, you need at least a year's worth of income in the bank, in liquid funds, safe from disaster, so that if you have an economic crisis, a health crisis, or any other kind of catastrophe, you can weather that storm. Take personal responsibility, because right now that's about the only thing we can do. And the other thing that I recommend is that we all take pride in the jobs we do have. We take it for granted sometimes. We take our clients for granted. We take our bosses for granted. Don't ever do that. Bloom where you are planted. Do the best job you know how to do and protect that income, because once it's gone, it is hard to get back. One vote in the next election may not do much good, but you can take personal responsibility at home. You can't stop the tsunami from coming, but you can certainly batten down your own hatches.